Hi everyone, over to you, Graham.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome now to our panel session, Media and Entertainment, still in the vanguard of challenging DAM. As I mentioned at the start of the day, we sometimes think there might not be very much more to explore for DAM in M&E. Maybe not so many more new horizons, but we have a panel of industry leaders here to prove that handsomely wrong. Alex Bernay, Digital Asset Manager at Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, Jennifer Deauville, Digital Asset Management Strategy and Governance Lead at NVIDIA, and Paul Nicholson, Senior Vice President, Production and Technology at Showtime Networks. Pop your questions in the Q&A box. We will get to as many as we can. And as we talk here about where things are headed, looking into the future, maybe think about what innovations would make a real difference to you, and pop those in the chat in the Q&A. First of all, though, we're going to have each of our panelists do a short introduction, a little bit about themselves and their DAM journeys so far. Maybe Alex, I'll pass the mic to you on that first.
Hi, I'm Alex Bernay. I'm currently at Lincoln Center as a digital asset manager or digital archivist. I feel like a lot of us are very fluid job titles now. I've been here less than 6 months, but I've been in the DAM industry in other media entities for much longer before that. And I have a traditional library background, and I'm excited about talking with everyone here today.
Well, thank you. And Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm with NVIDIA. And for those who don't really know what NVIDIA is, they're a computer graphics, well, they started as a computer graphics company and now has grown to become a leader in visual and accelerated computing. I've been there for about 16 years and built the DAM about 4 years ago from 0 to now 16,000 users worldwide with lots of roles and asset groups. And yeah, that's about it.
Very nice. And Paul?
Hi, everybody. I can't see you, but I know you're out there somewhere. My name is Paul Nicholson, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Production and Technology at Showtime Networks, where I've been for about 25 years. I think in a month, it's 25 years. I run all aspects of production for Showtime's internal marketing team. So that means things like editing, campaign and project management, retouching, our physical production shoots, and then the production of all the print and digital assets that we create, such as billboards and station dominations, digital advertising tactics, sort of you name it, we do it at Showtime. And I'll also get to oversee all the technology that we use to do all of that work. So things like digital asset management systems are right there in the wheelhouse, and computer workstations, all the software tools, and all of it essentially to promote and manage and maintain Showtime's brand. Welcome.
Well, 25 years, that's awesome. Paul, maybe we start with you then. What sorts of changes have you and your DAM had to adapt to over that time?
Yeah, too many to list here, I think. Coming into Showtime, we were, the original team of us were brought in to build the internal agency, essentially to create all the workflows and structures and hire the people and set it all up. So we really started from scratch with no DAM at all. There was a small photo department with drawers full of CD-ROMs that had a lot of pictures on them. And that was what I guess we'd called the DAM back then. And so, starting out with a very basic sort of Canto Cumulus system back in the day, one of the first early DAMs that you could afford. We've migrated through a couple of different tools over the years, and seen a lot of change, but clearly the amount of content that we're all creating, probably everyone listening in, that we're all creating, has really forced us to change quite a bit in terms of just the robustness, automation, the ability to sort of tag things with AI, right? Like we've all seen these kind of innovations come and go, and it's only because of those innovations that we're able to keep up with the volume, quite honestly.
And actually, you said a couple of things there we might double click into in a minute, tasty topics. Now, Jennifer, you casually tossed a statistic there into your intro of 0 to 16,000 users. That sounds like you've experienced a bit of change over the years too. What sorts of change have been visited in your DAM world?
Yeah, well, like I said, they started they actually tried a couple different dams over the years, and none of them really stuck. I think just the timing wasn't right. The company was in its not necessarily infancy, but just not really ready for it. But as NVIDIA grew themselves into all these different markets and industries, that there was a need for a dam, and also for it to be very agile, ready to change and pivot. We cover things gaming to robotics, self-driving cars to blockbuster movies, artificial intelligence, healthcare, and even research. And also we've acquired 2 other companies a couple years ago. So it was always having to change the dam and build it up and get more and more customers in there on our partners on their side, as well as employees. So I feel like it's always changing. And just being able to be fluid with it, and with my experience being around in the company and doing different roles in the company, I was able to adjust and talk to people and see the different groups and different habits of the entire company.
You mentioned also in your intro how what your company does has changed over time,
Yes.
has grown, expanded. What does that mean for DAM? Like, how has the role of DAM changed for you over time?
It keeps morphing and changing. Even if the gaming team is doing something, maybe healthcare industry is doing something else, and just trying to see if there's something that fits. And then, of course, with artificial intelligence and automation, that really, really helps with our dam. Having power users to be able to do all those advanced tasks in the dam.
I think automation is a topic we might come back to in a moment too. Maybe, Alex, how do you see the role of DAM in your world, and how do you see that changing?
I think it's a lot of picking up on what other people have said. Kind of over time, if you just look at photography, there were 36 images on a camera roll, and then we were kind of limited by the size of the discs in the camera, or what could fit on a CD. And now it just kind of is limitless. And I think it's sort of an inverse proportion of the number of assets to the size of assets, especially when we start to deal with video. We have much less video, but the sizes are just kind of astronomical compared to documents or still images or things like that. And it's kind of that mindset of just kind of how do you proportion those as well. And also, Jennifer, I would both be delighted and horrified to have that many users to manage in a system. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Alex, maybe picking up with it, I think what you're talking about there a little bit is the relationship with your business and what your business is doing. Like, you don't necessarily control that your business is going to start having videos or start having bigger videos. It's sort of something you're obliged to respond and react to. How do you tackle sort of staying a half a step ahead of your business and anticipating? And what would you recommend our audience, think about? You also said the word mindset. It was I think, very key word here. How do you recommend our audience get themselves into that mindset of anticipation?
I mean, personally, I communicate maybe more than people want me to communicate with them. Let's say it's being assertive and not pushy. When I started here, the first thing I did was I was like, well, I have to meet with all these groups. And someone said, well, host groups don't use the dam. And all I could think was, well, they don't use the dam now. But, let's not think about now. Let's think about what should be happening, not what is happening. So I think for me, it's a lot of really trying to keep an open line of communication with people, try to find out what are they actually doing. Like, everyone's very set, like, I put the images in the dam, I put the videos in the dam, and then they're tagged, and then they do this. And like, okay, that's good. That's what the dam is for. But there's a lot of other things that the dam could be and should be doing. And getting back to what Paul said, kind of thinking of the dam as part of the overall ecosystem wherever you are, and not just this does this and that does that and that does that. Just try to think of how to piece everything together. And like I said, I think just maybe inserting yourself in conversations or decisions that are being made places that maybe you didn't typically see yourself. At least for me, like coming out of library school, I didn't think this is what I'd be doing in 20 years after I got out of library school, but here we are. So
I think that's an important point that you brought up, because digital asset management is not a piece of software that you buy, in my mind, right? It's maybe what a lot of people think of as the DAM, you refer to it like that, but it's actually it could be a dozen tools in your company. It could be just files and folders and the way you name things. It could be, your rights management system tied into your digital asset house, where your files are on the server, the other business systems that other people use that you're getting metadata from, right? It's all about managing digital assets. It's not just one tool.
Yeah, that's a good point. We use or we're using Google Drive and trying to get them off of that and showing the meat to what a DAM could do versus some of those sharing tools or storage tools. Being able to show what the DAM can do because it's so powerful, and it can take in all these. There are integrations with Google Drive, with SharePoint, with all different other software.
What sort of techniques have you found effectively? I would say that's a theme for the day, right? Is the people side of this is especially where people have become comfortably used to very simple tools like a shared folder, or a file sharing service, and you're leading them to an understanding of something deeper and more valuable and more sophisticated. What techniques have you found, work in that people change?
I feel like I've done holding little short, either sync meetings. I've done a newsletter that's called Damn Mondays, and it's got 4 little things like, here's what's new, tips and tricks, did you know, and maybe some statistics. So it's just something short. I put a little funny, maybe meme at the top that has to do with Mondays, and just teach them a little something each time, because the way the world works so fast, especially these days, you got to get a little bit to them and not over, an hour-long training or a 20-page document. So I have cheat sheets, checklists, did you know messages, decision trees. Should I put this in the DAM? Should I not? Where should it go? That just something small and just little pieces at a time. I feel like that's what my users have benefited from.
Yeah, I think it's important to bring your sort of customers, if you will, into the process, right? And like whether it be about selecting a DAM or implementing a new workflow in it, to bring them into the process, to make them see kind of what your thought process is for the decisions you're making. They're a part of it. They have a vote. They have a say. Makes them a lot more likely to sort of participate in the things that you're trying to get them to do. And also, I think Jennifer said this before, but really going out and understanding what they need to do, to go out and interview these quote unquote customers of yours to see what are their pain points in their work, when do they access digital assets, and how do they get to them, what's their process, what do they click on, how many times do they have to click to get to the thing they're looking for, like analyzing that upstream in that way, and then also having them a part of the process really gets them to buy in.
There's powerful there. You're talking there about sort of getting into the minds of the users, right? Sort of understanding how they use the tool, how they approach the tool. What techniques have you found, work effectively in understanding the minds of your users? Paul, maybe start with you there.
Yeah, I think some of what I said, it always helps to bring some sort of baked goods to these meetings and get people to show up. Bagels and cake go a long way in these discussions. Of course, on Zoom, that's harder to do. But I do think I just, empowering them to if you can pick someone from each department to be kind of the point person or the representative or the real evangelist for the product, that or whatever workflow you're trying to do. It's not even limited to DAM, but you get somebody to buy in to it, and then it's their job to go sell it to the rest of their team, you know, because they have a real stake in it. I think that's the best technique.
Yeah, I always have to focus on the one thing that you're doing for people, not that you want people to do. Well, maybe eventually you get to what they should do or how they should do it, but you can't start with this like a top down. This is the dam, and this is how you have to do it, and this is the term. And even though no one ever says this is what you have to do, that's a terrible, terrible way, and that will, I believe, get you zero luck, and people will happily just use Google Drive and Dropbox till the end of their days. And you'll be you'll be the bad person.
Sorry to interrupt you. I got excited there for a second. They use those tools because they're easy to use. I mean, let's be honest. If you can go on Google and search for your company logo, and you can get it faster than you can if you go to your DAM, and we've got a problem, right? We're not providing good solutions at that point. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, as someone that started recently, I kind of came in, and you kind of come in, you take a look at the lay of the land, and you kind of see, and you think to yourself, why wasn't that done? Why wasn't this done? Why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? And then it's the same thing. It's like, people are asking for these photos. Why are they not on the homepage? People are asking for logos. Why are they not on the homepage on a tile that anyone can grab? Why is this not done? And you just kind of, I mean, for me, it's like the easy win somewhere, like, you know, while I'm toiling away, you know, and the permissions in the background that no one will ever see, at least I can put these things on the homepage for people. So that's like, oh, you know, that happened. That's going on now, and that's a plus for us. You know, we don't have to go to our secret stash on Dropbox or wherever we have it of these photos that we need for the events. So, just helpful.
So there's something worth exploring. You said there, you know, sort of things you do in the background to sort of, you know, help the users and the user experience. What sorts of, you know, tips would you offer our audience in what to maybe look for in their DAM platform that they can do, that as system owners, as collection owners, collection curators, they can do that will drive a better usage experience for the users? Maybe Alex, since you fired that synapse for me, we'll start with you on that one.
I feel like Jennifer's going on this, but
okay.
No, I was going to say, for me personally, it was kind of methodically going through the permissions and the groups and what people could and couldn't do. There was a lot of times people would get frustrated because they would just say, I can't see what I want, or I can't do what I want. And then I was like, well, why can't they see or do what they want? Well, they weren't in the right permission group. You know, if you're work with videos all the time, then you need a lot of extra permission and access to the CDN to upload the videos. But if you're in marketing, maybe you need permission to, let's say, the logos more than other people do. So I think that was part of it. Everyone was just kind of plopped into these very generic groups that were sort of meaningless, and spending time to actually get content to people to actually have the DAM give them what they were looking for was really helpful. And that was one of the completely behind the scenes things. No one aside from other DAM nerds want to know about groups and permissions. So.
Jennifer, did you want to jump in on that? Sorry.
Yeah, that would be great. In looking at the permissions you were saying, we've got a gaming side, we've got automotive, we've got industries and enterprise. We have to do permissioning. So right on the dashboard, I do a lot of this shortcuts, whether it's the permissioning forms that people have to fill out, and then as well as if it's a super user, I put little text links to find out what assets are expiring, which assets are unreleased that they need to fix, because sometimes if an asset hasn't become live, then that's why, you know, Joe over there can't see it, is because they aren't permissioned to see it, but we don't want them to see it yet. We've got about 300 different roles and asset groups, also with our partners that can and can't see things. So it's kind of just putting little shortcuts there for maybe, even for myself, I have a whole different section that has quick links to different things that myself and another person uses when we're doing our tasks every day. So just kind of putting some shortcuts right there on the page.
I think it's interesting that permissions comes up so much, right? Because it's something that all the damn vendors could really pay a lot more attention to, is making that easier to deal with, right? We all have this huge burden of setting up these like highly complex permissioning, systems, and just before you're even sharing assets, right? You've got to set up all of these rules and all of this barrier to entry. So it'd be great to see some innovation there from the vendor.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of mechanical subjects that keeps coming up. It's annoying information plumbing that just sometimes creates friction for users. I think that the notion that you're all talking about here, that things that as collection owners you do that just unconsciously remove that friction from the users is really quite powerful, and something for us all to think about as we drive our systems forward. A question that's come in from the audience, and it's been directed, Jennifer, at you, and we'll start with you, but actually I think probably all of you could opine quite handsomely on this question. Now that you have a better understanding of the business requirements and workflows, if you could start from scratch, what would you have done differently compared to how it is implemented currently?
Well, it's interesting because I actually did have to start over. We brought in 120,000 assets. Just everybody, let's put them in this. I had to actually delete probably about 100,000 of them after talking to management and start over. And that was more of just like, don't just dump them in there. You really have to see where the consistencies are and just start a workflow that goes in to your DAM. And then bring in maybe the older stuff while the new stuff is coming in, if that makes sense, because everything is just dumping in doesn't do it any justice. It was just junk. I think I called it instead of duplicates, it was 8 of them, 8 of one thing, and it just took up so much space.
Right.
And once we got into a good flow with everything, then maybe I'd put in something else that I think would fit under that group. So really finding consistency as well as the differences of different pieces.
And Paul, you mentioned sort of going through multiple evolutions of your DAM ecosystem. So maybe as well as strictly the question of what might you do differently if you could start from scratch, maybe can you talk a little bit about what it means to go through an evolution, go through a change, and sort of bring users along on that journey, because they may have expectations built on what existed before that you need to manage them through.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable that you're going to have significant change over time, right? It's your business is going to change in some dramatic way, more than likely. I mean, in 25 years, our business has changed probably 5 times in very significant ways. When streaming now, before that, satellite and cable and all the different things that kind of went through the media and entertainment industry that we're in. And so, initially it's just DAM for us was just a library of files that you could search and find, right? And DAM circa 2003 or something like that, very basic, add metadata, be able to search and find it. And then it became more of like a workflow tool where we embraced a product that really relied heavily on XMP, Adobe's metadata platform. And we created a lot of automation around that because we were just like finding ourselves shorthanded. So we really needed to empower the system to do some of the work. And so we employed a lot of automation type of techniques for auto tagging of things, connecting to different business systems around the company. I think we're always going to be shorthanded. That's sort of never changed, right? Like we're never at a place where we think we've got plenty of people to do the work. But the next iteration of change was using like AI and other things to auto tag, doing things in video like speech to text, and then being able to edit that video based on the words and not on the video itself, right? And doing text-based editing, because there was a real need to just crank out more video content for things like social media platforms, to do things like open captioning, where you've got the words written on the video on your Instagrams and stuff, so you don't actually have to have the audio on. you've got the words burned right into the video. And so to do things like that, you had, rather than do that very manually, we had to, again, some AI, automation, et cetera, but really just kind of trying to react to how the department or company was changing over that time, and then complementing that with the technology, not letting the technology sort of dictate what you could and couldn't do, right? But what are the business needs is the most important question.
And then Alex, how much do you feel as a relative newcomer to your organization that you have that sort of power and space to start over versus progress and evolve what you're inheriting?
I think I am basically starting over. I think the dam was turned on more than implemented, if that was a if that jives with anyone. So it is a little bit starting from scratch while things are coming in, but one of the many requests from our users is typically a lot of things that is AI or is more automation. And I'm personally looking forward to it. Like I said, a lot of the video we're very, very heavy on video here now. And at this point, there's a whole other workflow process of getting the videos. The raw stuff goes into the dam, the raw stuff comes out of the dam, the finished product goes into the dam, and there's another way it gets pushed to YouTube. And that's one of the things, because a lot of it is the captioning and the editing and creating clips. And I think that's kind of the next big hurdle in the workflow is what can we put in place to kind of smooth that along and get more done for them less manually, and how can the dam play some part in that for them? So
where are you finding
big push?
Oh, sorry. Where are you finding tools like automated extraction of metadata like captioning or facial recognition or pattern recognition? Where and how much are you finding that working successfully for you now? What sort of use cases?
Yeah, was that specifically to Alex?
Well, I think Paul, you mentioned automation and speech to text earlier too.
Yeah, we're really relying for some of that on our cloud vendors, of course, whether that be Amazon, AWS, or Google. A lot of the systems now allow you to kind of choose which cloud provider you want to use for different things. Mm-hmm. And you can be using multiple in your system, but you can leverage this one might have better speech to text recognition, so you use that one for that, and vice versa. But and also companies like Adobe, I think, are doing a really good job these days of implementing these features into their video platform. Frame.io and the whole Adobe Pro Video line is now really evolving in very dramatic ways, leveraging AI and some of those tools. So.
Jennifer, how about your world, pushing that envelope?
Yeah, we haven't gotten enough around being able to do the AI with it, even though we're an AI company. All of it does rely on the users to do things. One thing I do have is a file name to metadata integration. So depending on how you tag it or have your file name, then it will do some automated fields. I'm one person, and I have another person that does the admin task. So the future for my dam is to look into more of that, doing some machine learning so that we can train the AI system to recognize our CEO or recognize our product. Right now, even our one of the AI tools was recognizing our company, the headquarters, as an airport, because it was so white and stark when we had a new building, go into a new building. We had to turn off anything that says it's an airport. So it's really training those systems, and we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'd like to. And they could put it in, and its system already recognizes what product it is. But for NVIDIA, those products do look a little different, or different than what something normally does. Or they also are, maybe it's a new generation, but there's a slight difference. So that's a little harder for us to do.
So I think something interesting what you're saying there that links to another question that's come in from the audience, which is sort of technology and technology limitations and sort of compromises and how to navigate where the technology maybe doesn't do or behave exactly the way that your users would wish. So the question that's come in, Kim out there is saying, one of the challenges I've experienced is accessing files for end users when the downloading from the internet where DAM is in cloud. And I think that's an example of a technology introduced compromise where, okay, if your DAM is in cloud, you may have latency or performance issues. That might not be the only technology compromise you're making. What how do you recommend users choose their battles, or collection owners, our audience, choose their battles in that sort of respect? Because some of it might simply not be in your control.
Yeah,
Jennifer or Paul, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's interesting. The vendors that create these systems, DAMs and MAMs and whatnot, it feels like every year they kind of leapfrog each other with the features or the new technologies that they implement. So you might have purchased and implemented and spent the last year building a DAM on one platform, and then the next, Henry Stewart comes around and somebody's got 3 features that you really wish yours had. And so you always have that kind of technology envy, I think. And the technology in the world is so rapidly changing that I don't think you ever, just like you never have enough people on your team, you never have enough kind of technology in your system, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's just that you have to pick your battles. You have to decide what you're able to do. You have to think about your DAM and its capabilities like a software company does, where you have releases throughout. Maybe it's the quarters of the year where you don't overpromise that everything's coming at once, that you map it out so that people have an expectation of that. All right, in June we'll be able to do this. In August we'll be able to do this, just to manage some of those expectations. But that's a tricky question to answer, really.
I feel like sometimes it's. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's also on the user side sometimes too. People will say, it's not working. Is there something wrong with the DAM today? And it usually isn't. Maybe they have hundreds of tabs open, or they're at home and their internet's not working well. Or, when we were all in the office, it was one thing, but now that people are working from home, and especially during COVID, that was such an important part was, well, what browser are you using? What's your speed? Just kind of what they have as well. And like Paul was saying about everything, having to pick your battles with that, if the server's changing or whatever technology side, it makes a difference. And maybe you help them as much as you can, but now you got to look into maybe another tool to use.
Yeah, I try to get into the why are people asking for this thing, and how will it or won't it dramatically impact what's going on, at your company, at your institution. Is this something that one person wants to make it slightly more convenient for them, or is this holding down a team of 20 people? Is this dragging them down? Are they wasting so much time? I think for me, just figuring out the why is it's like, is this worth getting a developer? Is this worth paying? Is this worth getting this feature done? Or is this, I'm sorry, it doesn't do this, but it does do that instead. That's usually how I guess manage expectations. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, manage expectations. That is often one of the key roles of a DAM leader in an organization. We're maybe only going to have time for a couple more questions here. Here's another interesting one coming from the audience about asset health and asset integrity. So beyond just metadata and beyond the metadata tagging being in a happy place, what sorts of tips or techniques do you suggest for our audience to think about in making sure that their asset collection, the assets themselves, are healthy and will be usable and useful when the time comes? Maybe Paul, we'll start with you. I think you have probably you've had to deal with many different forms and formats of assets through the years where maybe that mattered, where the integrity and health mattered.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, to be honest with you. That's a real pain point, really, in this whole world of DAM, right? Confirming that your video is uploaded and transcoded correctly and making sure that it's essentially QC'd, right? There are some tools built into some of the DAMs, or some third-party things that you can kind of clip onto the DAM so that it runs through that process. We use a lot of Telestream Vantage type of workflows for our ingest process on the video side, and that does a really nice job of QCing, and you can sort of be notified automatically if something fails or passes and those sorts of things. But there's, it's tricky. So much depends on the width of the pipe that you have. How many can you do at once, right? And more failures if you squeeze that pipe too much. But those are real technical challenges. I'm not sure I have a great answer for you other than to say that's a great question. That's definitely something we think about a lot. I wish I had the golden ticket answer for you, but it's a bit of a struggle. But there are some good third-party tools like Telestream out there on the video side that can help in that process.
Jennifer?
I feel like our side is more of kind of watching what comes in. We're able to see, maybe take a look each day. The admin, I have her kind of auditing what's coming in. If it's being used too, we run reports on what's used the most. Are they putting it in? Even to what Alexandria had said is, why is it coming in there? Or, we want to put in, we had the gaming team one time come in and want to put these assets from about 2019 backwards. Like, do you want to just archive them, or why are you putting it in? And it was really something they had to sit back and answer for me, because sure, I can give you upload permissions, you can name it the right way, but why is it there? So kind of looking to see what is coming in, who wants to come in, and if they really should be.
Alex, any thoughts on that one?
I think as someone that just basically wrote the digital preservation policy for the institution, I mentally was like, oh, I'll have to come up with a way of basically like verifying all the checksums and everything else, for my yearly check after I've been here for about a year, because it is the core thing of the DAM is that we give you a digital asset, and next week, next month, 10 years from now, we can get the same digital asset out of the DAM. And that's kind of the first line of defense there. So it is obviously very important to get at least that right for people.
And it is, in fairness, it is a whole discipline unto itself, digital preservation. I think, sometimes people assume, well, it's a digital file, I'll just put it away and I'll get it back later. Well, not. It takes some thought and care behind the scenes to do that. We are almost out of time. Maybe just one quick final thought from each of you, on what's a DAM innovation is top of your wish list. What would you like to see? What would make the most impact on your world in DAM? Sort of your DAM innovation fantasy wish list. Alex?
I think some automations, for additional like auto tagging, and also for accessibility. We're very big on accessibility for a wide range of users at Lincoln Center, and I think those two things could kind of work hand in hand. So that's my wish list.
Jennifer?
Yeah, mine would be the automation, the artificial intelligence, putting in that time, like I said, to be able to have it learn what things are around our company and get a little bit more automation to it.
Paul?
So I have, there's too many to list, right? Of like things that we wish list. But I have an idea for a great T-shirt that I've been talking about for years. But I want to make a T-shirt for the next one that says "Damn is a scam," because to me it takes way too many people to manage these assets. The ROI is questionable, to be honest, in some cases for how many for how many people have to actually get involved in this. But my wish list item would be better UI options, right? User interface, user experience options. I think there's like the built-in way that your DAM presents itself to the world, and your users are sort of have to use that unless you spend millions of dollars with some sort of custom web developer that can leverage the DAM on the back end or whatever you have to do, right? And there's a real kind of aspect of this that is missing, this kind of, consumer level experience that you get when you shop on websites, if you will, that a real luxurious kind of interface with elegant design is really lacking in the DAM space. I think there's a lot of room for a vendor to come out and really take the industry by storm with a really, slick UI and UX.
I think that's awesome. And the whole scam thing, whether there's a challenge to our audience is to come up with a good acronym, the Special Collections Asset Management, something like that, for scam, and then we'll turn that into a t-shirt. Yeah. We're out of time. It feels like we've barely scratched the surface of this here today. Huge thanks, Alex, Jennifer, Paul, for fielding these questions here and helping us to think into the future of DAM for M&E. We're going to conclude the day in just a few minutes with a fantastic story from Universal Pictures. So click over now for that final session and we'll see you there.